We are live. Hello, friends. Happy paper people. We are so excited to be here tonight and see you on a Friday night. It is, I almost thought it was Friday the 13th, but my eyes, it's really the 15th. So we are happy to be here. We have Dawn Marie and Jen, and I'm Marianne, and we are here to share with you tonight. Mostly, we just want to share the time and hang out with our friends, with our happy paper people, and craft. We like doing that no matter what we're doing. But we thought since it's getting really close to Christmas and everybody's always in a rush to get the last minute things done, and then there's things that pop up that you weren't prepared for, that we might throw in a couple of last minute Christmas ideas, a couple of different wrapping paper ideas that are fun and very artistic, so it can be used later, especially if you're giving it to somebody artsy. But even if it's not somebody artsy, artistic wrapping paper is awfully fun. And some things that you have made before or can make very quickly to use as Christmas ornaments. And ornaments can always be put on the tree. They can be put on a gift. They can be put on a gift bag. So, if you feel like you just need a little something extra, we've got a couple things for you tonight. So, hello, Glynis. Hello, Margie. And hey, Christy. Here while cooking dinner. Awesome. Making burgers for my guys tonight. Well, that's Christy, great minds. We're going to make burgers when we get done here. And please don't talk about them because I'm hungry. I'm really hungry. So no, that's totally fine. We're going to do that when I get done. Some ideas for Sunday. What's Sunday? Need some ideas for Sunday. What is Sunday that you need ideas for?
She must be having maybe a little party or get together.
That is possible. Family dinner, or just for normal Sunday dinner. You're just out of ideas for Sunday dinner because you've been doing so much.
Maybe she's going to have a craft in with everybody. Friends.
That sounds like, Christmas with your parents. Okay. Well, all three of these ideas might be good then. I'm sure you've already made them some amazing cards because that's what Christy does. She's an amazing card maker. So maybe we can throw out a couple of other ideas that you could use for Sunday. So we are going to do this in 3 segments. We are going to turn the first segment over to Jen and let her tell you what she's going to demonstrate and share some ideas. And, everything we do tonight might not be absolutely completely new concept to you, but you might get some ideas and some inspiration for some variations that are going to work really great for you, not only from Jen, but from those in chat that are sharing ideas. So, hey, Jen, how you doing?
I am better.
I am so glad to hear that.
Oh man, it's been a rough few weeks.
But just that you're better enough to be able to do this makes me really happy.
It makes me happy too. I've been going stir crazy. Enforced rest is kind of a pain.
Yeah.
So just to start off, sometimes you run out of wrapping paper because it's Christmas and you run out. And a lot of times people have access to things like paper bags, tissue paper. Here's another good one. I have a giant piece of it here, but I'll just show a part. It's Amazon packing paper. So it gives that nice crinkly sound and it's nice and thin. I won't be using that today, but
I will.
Right? And the paper Amazon bags, those work really well too.
Yep.
Especially if you wanted to put like a layer on the outside that didn't show all the Amazon stuff. So the purpose of this particular tip is just to give you some ideas on how you can dress up just basic paper, whether you have a craft paper on a roll like I do, or just this paper bag. And I have 2 stamping ideas. I tried to keep it simple because I know that we don't have a ton of time to spend together, and just want to make sure that you have something to work with. So I grabbed a few stamps, and heaven forbid I lost them. Oh, here they are. Let's go with, so you could do one that's directional. So this is just a little Christmas tree stamp. I found it at one of the local thrift shops that I had for, I think it was 50 cents, which was kind of cool. Looks like it's from Stampin' Up. So that's one idea. Another idea is, here's another Christmas tree. If you don't like Christmas trees, sometimes you can get really cool designs that maybe remind you of a snowflake. Like if you want winter paper. My mom's birthday is tomorrow, so winter paper is always a great idea. She hates when people use Christmas paper for her birthday. And here's a star stamp that could be used for pretty much any holiday that includes stars, but it would work for Christmas too. So I just grabbed those, and I'll start with this one because I wanted to show kind of one application where you might not want just the stamp, but you kind of wanted to use it in different ways. So let's get started. I'm just grabbing some archival green ink. And the only reason I'm using archival here is because I want to be able to potentially either use that rice paper glue or decoupage over the top. And that way the ink won't move. Or if I wanted to glue other things on. So I'm essentially going to get this all stamped up. I'll just use one color this time. And just kind of stamp that up. And then I'm going to quickly kind of stamp it anywhere. And then I'm going to take a ghost print and stamp it elsewhere. And I'll move this up so you can see it in a second here. And there's a reason why I'm doing that, is because you can get this really great layered effect. Let's see here. And so now I'm going to take it again. Let's go with a lighter green. So I'm going to take this lighter green and I'm going to go a little bit over the top of my ghost print. And this is, I like the random effect. So I'm not really thinking a lot about where I'm placing things. I'm just getting them placed.
I like how you're getting dark, medium, and light images on there. That's cool.
Yep.
Good depth and texture.
I'll put a red one over here and then maybe a ghost print up over on this one. And this I'm doing directionally, but it kind of gives some depth because you got your dark stuff that stands out and then you've got your stuff that might be in the mist in the background, for instance. See if I got another print out of it. Oh, look, I did. I got another one. So then another thing I can do is I can, if my stamp is narrow enough, I can potentially just ink up one of these trees with one color and then pop another color on the other one and another color on the other one. And I am using red and green just for simplicity here. I'm more of a, my stuff under my tree is always very, very colorful. So there we go.
Oh, I like that.
And so I just keep going until the whole thing is full. And I can do that now, but I think I'd like to show you something else really quick. So I'm going to set that aside for the moment, and then I'll just continue working on it later. So now I have tissue. Sure, you guys all love and know tissue paper. So I'm not that ghost print effect works really, you know what, this is just too big to work with. Sorry, I gotta cut it down. The ghost print effect works really well on the tissue paper, but I'm going to show you something else. And this was inspired by, I think it was a Tim Holtz paper, where you kind of have multiple images happening.
Tim Holtz collage paper.
Yes, yes.
I remember you saying, I can do that.
Right.
And you were right.
And I could use black, but I've used black before and I have an example I'll show you. But I think what I'll do is I'll go with colors to see how it looks. But what I will do is I'll stamp the stamps in the bold print in the same stamp in different colors, but then use other stamps as well and see what it looks like. So that's essentially what I'm going to do here. Simple. Actually, I like this better this way because I can actually see what I'm getting colored on. These are really tiny my archival inks are all small except for the black one. So I pick a location, and because it's going to be a little bit like Tim Holtz's collage paper, he has a very gridded way of putting it down. He doesn't like toss everything every which way. That's actually really light. So I'll do another one here in a dark green so you can actually see it. I think the overall end effect is really interesting. So I'll just put a tree, and I'm going to change the direction so it'll be perpendicular, not diagonal at all, just perpendicular. And I'm going to toss it right over here, for example. And then, there we go, that came out nicely. And then what I'll do is I'll take another stamped image. And I know this one isn't sort of a perpendicular look, but I will put it as if it were right next to one of the other images. So because these are wood blocks, I'm just going to tilt it so I can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to place it right next to another image. Now, that doesn't really look like much of anything yet, but if I can go here and do another, let's just do another thing in red. You know, if these were bigger, I could do this faster. Not that I'm trying to be fast. I'm just trying to make sure that everybody gets a chance to show what they're showing.
You got plenty of time.
So here is the Christmas tree here. It's super light. Sorry about that. So I'm going to actually line this up so the tops of the trees are facing in a different direction. But I am going to put it slightly in line with this tree. Just slightly.
And Jen, you got plenty of time. You got 15 minutes.
Oh,
don't even worry about it.
Totally cool then. And I'm not going to do a ghost print on that, so I'm going to stamp it off on another piece of scrap paper, just so I don't get red in my green. And then I'm going to take this same stamp, ink it up.
There's a question: when you're doing it on the tissue paper, are you doing these random as well?
Yes, the placement and location is fairly random, but when I'm doing, I'll show you in a second what the other one looks like. So I'm trying to butt them up against each other.
So they're randomly directional.
Randomly directional and placed together. Now, what I've ended up with here, so this is good. This is what I wanted to get to. Now I have these little gaps, so to speak. And that is where I come in, and I'm not going to use a Christmas stamp for this because I want something small. Let's just use a number or something. How's that? I have these cool postal type stamps. So I want something smaller. So how about this 710? See that number? And what's really cool about this, do I have a block? Yes, I do. What's really cool about this is that I can take this number, get it on any one of these colors, ink it up, and then I can sneak it into a gap. Let's see, where do I want it? How about right here? And let's do it in another color too, because then you can kind of see the full effect.
So basically you put the biggest ones on in a pattern, sort of.
It's kind of
and
random.
Then you sneak the little,
pattern.
you maybe, you try to sneak in little ones, or you look at what you have to sneak them into the spaces.
Right. So here's an example here where I've snuck this into a space. And eventually you fill up the whole piece of paper.
Oh, I love that.
And you end up with piece, and literally when you cut them apart, it's semi non-directional because look, they've got a tree facing this way, trees facing this way, numbers where their upside is that way. And so you get this really great effect that is just kind of non-directional, but it ends up being good for things like collage. And I'm going to use this light green, but I'm going to darken it a little bit with dark green. Yeah, I'm cross-pollinating. And I'm going to pop this right in this nice gap here.
That's okay. All you have to do is take a baby wipe and wipe the top of your ink pad real good, and any other color will be gone. It doesn't destroy. It doesn't ruin. Despite what people think, it does not ruin your ink pads.
Yeah, and I'm not too worried with these archivals. I've not had a lot of trouble with them staying that way, and sometimes I'll take them and just run them over a piece of, like this craft paper or something, so that that
Mm-hmm.
top layer gets taken up by something else, and it works really great. So I think I want something dark green there that maybe is going this direction, but maybe the top is facing that way because it's opposite of the trees. Let's see if the word certified will fit. Yeah, well, actually it will. It'll fit if it goes off the page, which is actually another tip, but let me just use a bigger word, fill up more space. So if I lay this direction and then pop my thingy on here, I don't want to use dark green because it's too dark. And these, unfortunately, are not as easy to turn upside down in ink. So I'm just going to do this. All right. And then I'm going to pull out a paper just to kind of block off my mat. And I'll fit that part of that word into this space. All right. I don't know if you can see the effect here.
This is great because you can do it in whatever colorways you plan on making a project. And if you just sit and do a whole bunch of stamps at one time with the colorways that you might do, you'll have them all done and ready to go.
Yes. And I think we've got a couple of other smaller ones here. Ooh, how about this 8? So this 8 will fit nicely in this little gap right here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to pop that in there. I wasn't really thinking about color here. Like I might have done this in a lighter green or that in a lighter green so I could put a dark green in there, but I'm not too worried about it. I'm going to pop a light green 8 in there. So multicolored is a little bit harder only because you think about your placement just a tiny bit when it comes to where you're putting a color, just so that you end up with a balanced product at the end.
I think one of those would fit in the star above the, yep, right there. You could do a second.
I was going to actually pop one here.
Oh.
Just
that
for the balance
could be a Christmas ornament too.
It really could. We could turn the airmail into a Christmas ornament.
Yep.
As well. So like maybe right here. And if I put it right there, what that does is it opens up a spot for some words.
Mm-hmm. A long one.
Along here. And then I could use, how about this pretty little postcard? That'll work. Let's move it a little bit. Yeah, I think that'll fit.
Can you push it up a little bit?
Yeah, I will.
Thank you.
All right, since the 8 is red and we've got light green here, and this is sort of a mix of light and dark green, I'm just going to do it in dark green. That's just for my own color preference balance. Since I chose red and green. Why I chose red and green, I don't know. It's not my favorite set of Christmas colors.
That's what I grabbed too.
Because it's traditional.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people like traditional, so I figured it can't hurt to go with that. There. So, and then you just keep going until you fill up the page. So I'll leave that there for a second and see if anybody needs a closer look.
That would look great with like metallics too.
Yeah, that was one more thing I was thinking about demonstrating just before we were done.
I say keep going. Oh, unless you have another aspect of it, I say keep going on that so they can just kind of watch you how you move from section to section on the paper and keep it going.
Absolutely. I just wanted to show one more thing first.
Okay, yeah.
Here is somebody asked for one in black and white, and there wasn't any particular theme going on. Oh, I better close these, or because if I get red and green ink on it, I don't think they'll be happy with me. So this one is one that I'm in the middle of working on, and I kind of went with sort of a nature library postal theme. And as you can see, I had a larger image, but what I ended up doing was I took this stamp and I stamped it here, but I also stamped it here. And this stamp didn't actually take all the way, but I like that effect on this particular process. So I left that. And then I also stamped it over here. This is a very big sheet of tissue. And then over here, and you'll notice like each time I've stamped it, I've sort of changed the orientation or direction, but because this is more like perpendicular to each other, all I had to do was stick, whether it's straight up or down or whatever, in whatever direction I decided.
That's what makes it look like the Tim Holtz paper, because the same thing all over the place, facing all different directions.
Yeah.
I love the year numbers.
Yeah. And so this year stamp is right here. And it is really nice for kind of going along stuff.
Yep.
So I actually did those fairly early on in this. So like I did that, and I did this one. And you'll notice they are definitely going all different directions. And so here is a nice grouping where I've done a whole bunch of stamps of the same stamp, but moved them around on the page a lot. And then I started kind of closing in the gaps a little bit. And here you'll notice that there's what is that set, Marianne? This one.
It's on the left. On the left.
Creative blocks. Yeah.
The blocks. That's one of the new ones.
Gorgeous on here.
That is a cool one. That's great for this kind of. I didn't even thought of using that one. Good idea.
And what's even more interesting is the fact that because they're kind of all the same size, they make for a really good filler in sort of. There's one there too, and they make for a kind of a gridded pattern without actually having a grid. Here's a set of mushrooms. I don't know if you can see that in mushroom stamps.
Those are cute.
And
I love the mushroom stamp.
Here's some acanthus leaves, but the one side of it didn't print very well, but I'm actually okay with that. So
yeah.
And then because I wanted some script in here, I have a big script stamp. And all I did was sort of randomly, I inked it up, but I randomly set it in places, but I did it before I did the mushroom. So that it was there, and then I can work around it. By putting like the mushroom in. I think this was here first. So that way I kind of knew the orientation I was going to go. And then I just sort of bent it and pressed with a few fingers just to get that randomized effect. Here's another section that came out really nicely, where it sort of looks like it was planned, but honestly, ladies, it wasn't planned. It was, this will fit here. So I had this that went here, and then I put this next to it because I thought it fit well. So it's literally just looking at the stamp and figuring out. So this is one stamp here.
Organized randomness. It's perfect. Love it.
And the space, I have found that the white space between your stamps is also really important. If you get them too close together, they don't read well, and they don't sort of act as one unit. They just look like kind of a stamped mess. And if you like that effect and that's what you're going for, that's perfect. But for this particular process that I was doing here, it doesn't always look great. So I try to keep them with just enough white space between them. I think I got one here that was like almost too close. It might have been this one. This one's almost too close to that one. And so it just doesn't have any rest in the space. So as long as I leave some white space in between whatever I put here, I think it'll be okay. So that's an example of something I was working on. Oh, and this particular piece of tissue is one of the multi-timed reuse tissues. So I'm kind of weird, I'll admit it, on YouTube, that I reuse my wrapping paper. I don't use tape, and so I use it every year.
You're in the right place then, because that's what we do.
Right. And tissue paper, I'll put in the box or whatever, make it pretty. And then I will take all the tissue paper and I will lay them all out flat and roll them up on a roll and put it away for the next year. So I'll just keep working on this. And then if anybody has questions, they can just fire away. Let me dry off my.
Yeah, let's watch your work on the tissue paper for a minute, because that's probably the thing that people haven't seen the most. And so they can watch your process of like moving around and filling in. Yeah. And DM and I can watch the chat. Do you guys have any questions for Jen about what she does or how she chooses what she chooses? And you can purposefully make it for any holiday, like she said, by whatever colors you want to choose. You can pick whatever colors you want, and The one that she was working on, the black and white one, that's really a lot like the Tim Holtz collage paper.
There we go. There we go.
So if you'd like to make your own collage paper, maybe buy a Tim Holtz now and then, but make your own most of the time.
Yeah.
I really like that idea. I think I'm watching her. I'm thinking, I think I'd like to do a Monday Jumpstart where we just sit down and make collage paper, which is tissue paper.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to tear apart. It's easy to decoupage on over the top of anything, just to add that little bit of whether color or texture, mark making, without having to make marks. Just put the paper down.
Oops.
So if somebody wanted to say, so what's the formula, Jen? Would you say bigger stamps, then fill in some area with background stamps, and then from there put down basically get smaller on stamps, or try to work in a small area?
I think what I tend to do is, like this one doesn't have any super huge stamps, but I do work with the stamps that tend to be either larger or provide structure first. Let's give you a better example.
Okay.
And the reason for that is I have a ton of tiny stamps. I even have a whole bunch of peg stamps. Those are super tiny. And I can fill in gaps way easier with a smaller stamp than with a larger stamp. So like this one with the years on it, that's a fairly long stamp. And there's another one here that's like this one. I don't know if you can see it. This is a really long stamp. You can't just put that anywhere.
Right.
So like this one too. I don't remember what this is. This
Something
side of card is for address. Yeah. So there's the larger stamps are easier to place evenly apart with when you do them first. And the other thing I do is I look for balance. So see how this stamp is a mostly black image. This stamp reads as mostly black, but these others, they don't read as mostly black. So I might not put several stamps as mostly black near each other.
Right.
I'd space them out more for that sort of balanced look.
I like the rated R stamp on that one.
There's a rated R stamp?
Yeah.
Where?
Up in the top right, right corner. See R?
I think that's
registered mail.
Registered mail.
Like priority mail.
You could use it. You could ink up only.
It can be anything you want, DM.
Yeah.
There goes the film school girl.
Really.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, Jen made a point without even bringing it out as a point, but I want to bring it out and make sure that you caught what she said. She said that the stamps she's using, they're large stamps, but they're not that large. They're not super large. She has larger stamps. So if you're going to do this, what she made me think of was think about what you're doing it for. If you're doing it so that you can tear this apart and use it as collage paper, then I wouldn't want to use great big large stamps, because when you tear it apart, you're only going to have a portion of one stamp and it's kind of a big blob. But if you have smaller stamps on there, if your largest stamps are like mid-sized down to smaller stamps, when you tear it apart, you'll have multiple images or lines, textures, things like that. Did I catch that right, Jen?
That's exactly right. That balanced effect of balancing either your darks and lights or your colors by spreading them out a little bit like that. You get quite a mix to work with when you cut it apart and decoupage with it.
So the one for wrapping paper, you might use larger ones if you're wrapping it and giving it to someone else. But if you're making them for yourself for collage or decoupage, you might think about the size of projects you do and how big you would want them to be.
So for like this one, if I were going to finish this and do wrapping paper with it, I would literally just get the darker print spaced equally sort of apart, depending on how close they were. So I might have another dark print right here and another one right over here, maybe coming off the page, and then maybe one right in the center of this. So like these are wider space than I would have on the finished product.
Mhm.
Then I have all the ghost prints hanging out behind everything.
Right.
Right.
And that technique works really well, especially for when you have, let's say you have thinner paper that you're working with. You don't have something as heavy as this,
Mhm.
and it's kind of see-through. This effect will help, especially if you're using black ink. It will help disguise whatever you're wrapping. So if you have like a name on the box or
Good
something of
idea.
Right.
So yeah.
I
Good.
also
All
wanted
these
to
people
go
can-
on one of those points is if you are going to use this to rip the pieces out, make sure you do leave enough space so that when you tear them, you know what I mean? You don't tear off something you don't want to get torn. Because I know even with the Tim Holtz stuff, I
Mhm.
try to tear something out and
Mhm.
it
But you're
might
always
be
tearing
just a little
something
bit.
else.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
always seem to hit something else unless I really. I
And
mean, I'm a terror. Like I don't,
yeah.
just rip. But sometimes I do have to get like my straight edge.
Interesting that
And
you say that though, because I like that no matter what I tear out from there, I'm always getting a little tiny piece of this or that or the other on the edge.
right.
So even tearing it, or whether even if I cut it, it's never going to be a clean image of something. It's always portions of something else
Yep.
because of that. I like that. Now, if you don't leave more white space, that
You
if
bring
you
up a
do,
great point, and I'm going to show you
fill it up,
exactly
fill it
why I
in.
like that. So
Yes.
what I
And
do,
always go off the edge too, because
yes, that's what I was just going to
Yep.
show is that if I go off the edge, let's see, that's a tree. I'm going to put a tree down here. If I go off I'm going to take the edge of this other tree and I'm going to make sure it goes off the edge of the page. And I know it's tissue paper. I don't have to press hard. When I do this and make sure it goes off the edge of the page, and I could do the whole half of the tree. It doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
What ends up happening is that when I do cut it apart for collage, I don't have to care about fussy cutting it to make sure that I'm not interrupting any other thing.
Yeah.
And that also allows me so that when I'm dealing with these little spots inside here, I don't have to worry about them. So let's say the piece I'm cutting is happens to be the focal happens to be these, but then I'm getting pieces of these other numbers. That actually usually looks really cool to me. And some people don't like that, but I think that effect is really fun.
I like it.
That's the word I would use.
And I also think with collaging, at least with different weights of paper, you should always test whether you're going to like it better cut or torn.
Yeah.
Because it does make a difference.
Yes, it does.
It makes a big difference.
Good point. Good point.
And even which way you tear it makes a difference.
Yes, some papers do have a very obvious grain.
Mm-hmm.
This is so like I'm just inking up this stamp while I'm talking here. This is because these are archival inks.
Mm-hmm.
I can use the water technique to tear.
Yes.
I can use the water technique to tear
on tissue paper.
You could
also on the other bag. It just takes a little longer and a little more water. Usually have to go over it a couple of times, but
without making the
but those tear easier with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I wanted to outline something and have the feathered edge because it's torn, having the archival ink means I don't have to worry about the actual distress effects coming into play.
Right. Well, no matter using archival, no matter what you do with it, you don't have to worry about it being water soluble and changing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really good point you made right at the very beginning. Okay, so she's going to keep working on that. We'll be able to see at the end more of what she's done. But we're going to pop over to Dawn Marie, and she's going to share another variation that we have on the same type of concept. So here we go. There you go.
Hey, everyone. She was using stamps. I'm going to show you how to use really basic stamps or to just hand draw things to make wrapping paper. So I have these basic, super basic stamps. And if you have some of these basic stamps, you can make these basic stamps very easily into wrapping paper and make them into stuff. So
Before you continue, let me just say that Margie shared an idea that when you're wrapping with the tissue paper, you could wrap it first with a colored piece of tissue paper and then put the stamped tissue paper over it so that you can't see through it to see the gift. And Christy is thinking about decoupaging an ornament with that. I think that's a great idea, Christy. Yep. When you do that, can't wait to see a picture of it.
Great. So I'm going to start first. We're going to make an ornament. And I am going to, once again, I took out my blues, my reds, my greens. So I'm going to use this right here. And if you see, I put what it is on the side of my stamps so I can have them sitting up like this and they don't take up a lot of room in my drawer. So I like to draw on them. So I'm just going to make this stamp, and it's just as easy to draw a circle, but so there's an ornament. Now, in order to make this ornament, an ornament has a little topper. So all you're going to do is put a little hat on it, and then you're going to put a circle. You could do that in any color. I just put it to yellow. Now, if you want to put lines on this, you're going to take your stamp again, make sure there's nothing on it, and I'm going to grab a red, and I'm only going to stamp half of it. And I'm using the same stamp so that you have the same circumference, and it will make it look like it's got dimension. We'll pretend that has dimension. Once again, it is easier when you have clear ones. So this has dimension, and now what you can do is you can grab your markers and you can add doodles to it. And you just keep it simple, just dots and dashes or X's. So that would be an ornament. Now, how would you make a, I'm going to use this one, and we're going to make a box. And I remember making these as a kid, you know, making the box to give somebody a gift. So there's 3 cute little boxes. They're not all perfect. They are tipped different ways. So now what am I going to do? I'm going to grab a marker. Let's give it a purple one, and I'm just grabbing whatever I have. So you just add however you would add a cross section. And in order to do a bow on top, it's easy. You make 3 raindrops, and you can fill in from there if you want. The other thing to a raindrop, a bow, is usually the end, and you just take a squiggle and go down, and a squiggle and go down, and that's 1. Another way to do it is, I don't know if this one's going to show up. Nope. Is, I'll use this blue one, is you can look down on it like this. You know how people do them on the corners, and you can make almost like a flower and then do the squiggles out of it. Let's see. So that's how you can do it with basic boxes. Now, if you want to do a wreath, I have one here that has all little balls. And I am going to make them red again, and I'm going to use festive berries because we're going to pretend these little balls are actually the little balls for ivy. Not ivy, holly. The holly and the ivy. You know that song. So I'm going to put that down like that. And we're going to pretend, oh, look at the pretty little berries. And then I'm going to take my green marker, and how you make an ivy, sorry, I'm going to say that. How you make a holly is you make a V. Oh, let me get a fat one so you can see it better. You make a
Jen,
V.
go ahead and mute yourself until you want to speak, and then just unmute it then.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Sort of a rounded V. And then you do a C and a backward C. And then you make the rounded V again. And then you put a line through it. So once again, it's sort of a rounded V, 2 C's, and a V, and a line through it. So I'm going to use a smaller one because those are really small. So you have this circle on here. So tucked in between each one of these, and see, that's not even perfect. I am just going to start making ivy. Oh, gosh, holly. And you put them at different directions. You can even put the lines in first, so you know that they're going different directions.
Hi, Angie. Hi, Julie. I think I said hello to you earlier, but just in case you didn't hear.
And then you're just going to keep adding to it, and you switch colors in between them. You could even use a blue-gray or a greenish blue to make them look like they're behind them. There we go. So that's the holly. Now I also wanted to put let's see. I wanted to show you this. We already made an ornament, and I'm going to do this out of the out of the medium-sized ornament. I want to show you how you can do this. I tried to show it there, but it's not as easy as showing it here. If you have anything, in fact, I was going to use this, but I found my moon stencil. I've done this for plates, and I've made them huge and cut them out and gone put them on the tree. In order to get dimension for something, you always want to make things look rounded. So I just did those basically. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put it so the rounded edge is down on it. And then I'm going to switch directions and put the direction go the other way, because then it makes it look like you're looking down on it. So this would be the top of it. And then if you're going to put a hook on it, you start it from the center. So if you want a ornament with stripes on it, you use one size bigger than you already have. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And then what you're going to also do with this is you'll color them in or whatever you want. But to make things look round, if you add just little feather kicks, and what a feather kick is you're putting your marker down and you pick it up and flick it really fast, like that. If you put feather kicks in, but keep them going the direction you've already put the round things in. So feather kick, and you sort of keep going back if you find a hole, and it eventually makes it look like it's round. And I do this a lot for shading on things, just to give them that little bit of extra dimension that you want to see, that gives interest. So that would be a way to make your ball look rounded from what you're doing. Sometimes I even go in and do it with smaller ones
I
or
love
black
that.
ones.
For those of us that have no art drawing training, That's a really, really good tip. Makes it easy enough to do things.
And
Hi,
I like to do it if you put even if you put a pencil line drawn on the circular first, to show you what direction you have to pull your lines at.
Right.
It certainly helps because you
Okay.
want to make sure that you're doing it with a round flick. And like I said, the flick, it's much easier to show you with a bigger one. A flick would be you put it down like this, and it's like you flick it up. And if you don't want that dot there, you just learn to flick and see how it goes from dark to light.
It's
That's
a great
also going
tip.
to be showing you how to make a flick.
Shading.
Yep,
That's
how to do
great.
shading.
Great tip. Thank you.
And then you just keep, like, I go back, I don't know how many times, and I'll do different colors. Like, and with this, I might do a blue on it. Now I did want to show one other thing. I'm going to turn this over.
You've got plenty of time.
Okay. You know, those super tricky snowflakes. Let's get a blue here. Snowflakes, everyone is different, as you know.
Which is
So
great for people like me that can't draw the same one twice.
Right, exactly. So you can start with a circle. I'm going to actually start with a spiral here. Because I'll start with the spiral. I'm going to do two at the same time. Okay, so there's a spiral. And then I'm going to use this one to do 1, 2. So you can see that one may be thicker and easier to see. So in order to do a snowflake, you can add multiple circles in between all of these. Like if I had a bigger circle, I might put another one down. But then you try to find the center. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go north, south, east, west, about the same length. You could, if you really want to, you can get your ruler out. And then you're going to go a little bit shorter than you did before and do the mid lines. And I'm just starting out with the stamp because that's probably everybody has a round stamp and it's something just to start with. Like I said, you could also start with one of these. You could start with your jar of, hand cream.
And if I was going to say, what you just made me think of, if you don't have a round stamp, grab a lid to something and trace around it.
Exactly. So now what you want to do is you want to make sure whatever you do on your north, south, east, west ones, you do each and every time. So I'm going to make this super simple. I'm going to do a half moon shape, and they're not even. I'm sorry, they're not even. No, I'm not. Actually, it makes it cooler. So it's just as simple as that. You just start doodling on it. So one of the other things I like to do is at each one of these, you just put a round thing because that's going to be an ice crystal. And then let's do one of these because I remember seeing this on ice crystal on them. So we're going to do small, long, small, small, long, small, small, long, small. And if I had, done this correctly, it would have, if you wanted to make it perfect. Above the circle here, I'm actually going to make a diamond. So whatever you do, you just have to replicate it. So we're starting on our snowflake. So you've gotten to the outside ring. Here, you could do, let's see, we already have lines there. Let's put a line with dots on the outside on this one. And if you think about it, if you've ever done the ones where you're cutting and you fold it in quarters anyway, or in eighths if you want to, you would get this same sort of design. And you just come up with shapes. If you need help with your shapes, go ahead and get the stamp out for them if you have tiny ones. I do know that I like to make them as simple as possible, especially if you're just starting out. I've done these where it's taken me like 2 hours to do one snowflake. You don't have to do that. But I do always like to finish them off with a round dot, a round thing. So it doesn't hurt when it hits you, you know, because snowflakes can hurt if they hit you. You could also go up like this, like an arrow. And you can always just keep adding on to it. Just keep things looking mirrored or even as best you can. But sometimes the prettier snowflakes, you know, are ones that have the little mistakes on them or little doodads. Like, so if this is going to be my last one, I would put a dot on the end of this one. So I do not like this dead space up in here. So I'm actually going to just pull another one up here and another one up on between each one of those, just so I have something to fill that space. I am not going to do anything major. I am going to just put a couple lines just to fill the space. Oops, see, I forgot the line there, so I just add it. I don't care. So you just keep doing that. You can eventually, in fact, I will connect some of these because they do connect in other ways. Excuse me. So you're literally just making squares. You can make a square on it. You're just using your basic doodle marks. So for instance, if we have a circle here and we have a circle over there, you could start something in the middle, pull it across, and leave some space. Here, I'm just going to pull this long one all the way to over there. So this is what what you do is you start to try to fill in the spaces just like Jen did with just lines. Oh, look, I didn't even do this one. That's okay. So we're going to connect them. See, and if I were doing this and had it all, so I have grid paper that's actually a circle, grid paper. And if I'm doing one of these to make it for something else, I will do it on a grid paper. But if you're just doing
like
this,
the look of it because it looks like it's hand drawn and it looks
right,
imperfect, like all the snowflakes. And
exactly. So the other
I
one,
was going to say the same thing.
yeah. So I love the circular one like this. So with this, for instance, you might only put five coming out, and you would evenly space them if you wanted to. And by doing that, it split it up into your spaces for you. So if you wanted to do, say, for instance, now I need to think. If from this line to this line, you're just going to do little dots. And that gives you that one. So you just do that on every one that is within that circular thing. Okay. This one right here, I'm going to put my little V's. So this one right here, I'm going to put my V's. And because it's the um, spiral, it will close in on itself and it will help make it make your eye follow what you've drawn.
Oh, that's really cool.
So with this one also, you can see that you have the linking lines, which I didn't on that one. So on this linking line right here, I'm going to put a circle and a line. Circle and a line. Circle and a line. Because what it's doing is it's giving you that space to do it. So then you start at the next one, because so every space has a circle and a line. So you're going to go to this one. So I think here what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do okay, so that one is done. So the next one is here. And you can make a spiral without a stamp. I mean, it's just as easy to do. And if you want things to be evenly spaced, the other thing to do is to put one in the center first. And then do the outside ones and evenly space them there. I know spacing is a big deal sometimes. And one thing that I practiced for a really long time is making a line, putting a thing there, finding this, eyeing the center, and then start breaking it down into halves. So that way you don't always have to have a ruler out, because you can eyeball making things in half. Making things in half is easy to eyeball, but when you look at it, you know, you think, oh, how did she get those pretty close to all being the same size? Well, I didn't start here and go across. I started really from the center and then worked my way through them. And you can do that with any shape. So that's another drawing cue, is that when you need to center something, you don't necessarily always need a ruler.
So you're saying I could take a piece of paper or a brown paper bag and sit down while I'm watching Christmas movies, drinking hot cocoa, and just doodle on it like this.
Yep.
And make some good wrapping paper.
Yep.
You know what else these would be good for is gift tags. So if you wanted to spend the time on the doodle, but you didn't want to cover a whole piece of paper,
right?
You could literally just do a tag.
Yeah, good idea.
And use it as the to, your little to from gift tag that goes on the present.
Exactly. So I did little swirlies on that one. And what I might on this one do is fill in, just add another crescent moon and fill that in to make that crescent moon thicker at there. So then it really does look like a piece of ribbon. So I have a question. Does everybody know how to make a bow hand drawn without having to find a stamp for it?
Well, that would be a good thing to teach.
You want to learn how to do a bow?
Sure.
A bow is really simple. Now, you start, like I said before, you start at the center. And I started at the center here.
Okay.
If you look at a bow, there's always a rectangle as the knot.
Okay.
So I'm making a giant bow right now. In fact,
Okay.
I am going to make it
a gigantor bow.
a gigantor bow. So there's always a rectangle. And then what you're going to do is you're going to make giant elephant ears. Giant elephant ears.
Okay.
Okay? And then you're going to take from the corner and draw an arc. And what you're doing is you're following the arc of the one above it. Now, I like to make my bow go the opposite direction on that one.
Okay.
Okay?
They always seem to do that when I tie them anyway. I can't make them go the same way.
So then from this corner on the upper left corner, you're just going to take and pull one line. And then you're going to go behind about 1/4 of an inch or however, behind the bow. So it looks like it's coming out from the bow.
Okay.
From behind it. And then you're going to make a V to make your ribbon end.
Okay.
So then you're going to start for the other side, the ribbon, come out from there and start it a little bit down on the bow and make the V. The fun thing is now we're going to make this look 3-dimensional. So you have to look at it and think, what is pinched? This is pinched. This will be pinched, or what's in behind and what's forward.
Right.
So you know that this is pinched because you've pulled them all together. So you're going to draw your lines to make it look like it's pinched. And all you need is 3 whisker lines.
Okay.
3 whisker lines. And please feel free to move your paper every time you draw because you need it the dimension, you need it the way your hand is going to move. Don't try to make your hand move a bad, a wonky direction. Like I would never try to make it go up like this. So you saw me, I moved my paper. So I'm going to do 3 and it's just that swipe.
Yeah.
So now what you're going to do is, ribbon is, has a little bit of an edge. So you're just going to drag the edge along the bottom there to show that that's behind because it's showing that the top is behind that little thing. And then you're going to pull another one on the other side. And that makes that bow. So what else is pinched? The
center.
The center is pinched. I tend to make that one last, but yes, the center is pinched.
So the ends coming out of the center?
So the ends coming out of the center are behind everything. So you want to make a shadow and show that it's pinched. And once again, you just do the 3 little things to show a shadow line.
Okay.
Now, along curves, we know that this part right here that we're looking at is underneath also. So we're going to make tiny, tiny, tiny little flick marks. And you're going to go in the same direction of the curve. So just little flick marks here along the upper edge. And that will make that look like that this part right here is behind it without coloring it in.
Okay.
So you don't have to, literally, I just usually take this and go like, just make all different lengths and it will make it look like it's behind.
Okay.
And then you turn the paper and you do it the same way and they go the direction that the bow is going. So see, that's a really long one. And that will show that that's behind it.
That's cool.
And that makes it behind it without coloring it. Yep. And then you can go back and because this is even more pinched and you just did these lines, you can actually go in and add really small pinch lines, sort of lighter and behind the big 3 that you drew. and make sure they're going the same direction. You see I messed up, but that's okay. The other thing you can do is you can skip lines and pull them out. And this is like skipping. It's a skip method. So you're on the same line coming out, but you're lifting it up so it makes a skip.
Okay.
Okay. And you can do that there.
Most awesome.
And
Marge, you let Puppy do the whisker lines.
Yeah. The other thing you might want to do is pull little sides there, because the back might be there, and you can just color them in to make them look like it's flipped a little. And that is a real basic one. Now, you can also do the bow. I made that easy with a elephant ear. You can also do
and then the same
more
shading.
Designed one. Yep. Yeah. And then you do the same shading.
Same shading or
yep.
Whisker technique.
And you take it from there.
Okay.
And you go to the corners. And then as you become, see, I totally messed that up. It should go there. As you become freer in making them, they will look more
and more realistic.
And you can pull, like, for instance, you could pull a second one back here. And pull a second one back here. And you can keep going.
Very cool. And
so that's your drawing for tonight.
they liked learning how to draw the bow. They said that they wanted to, so that's awesome.
If you
appreciate
you can also
that.
cut it off like this and not have it quite as, like, just get rid of the elephant bump there. And then it looks a little bit, you know how it's crisper than the elephant bump.
Oh,
so.
I like that.
Yeah.
I really like that. Okay. So if you want to keep working on that, your paper, and show them what you have at the end, that's okay. If you don't want to, but you want to work on one of these other things we're doing, that's good too. So excellent. We are going to now go. So now you've got a couple of different ways to wrap your presents. And I had to check my camera here, see where it's at. Should be good. If I need to zoom in a little bit, you can tell me. All right, so you've got a couple different ways to wrap your presents. Maybe you ran out of wrapping paper. Maybe you just want it to be an artistic Christmas anyway. Save a few bucks on wrapping. Wrapping paper is expensive anymore. It's crazy. So you wrap your wrapping paper, and then maybe I was just talking with my sister, and she's like, I'm using some of that. She's using some of that type, these techniques to do her wrapping, and she's like, but I need something else on it. I need something, something to dangle from it, or something to decorate it, or something to put on the top of it. So one of our favorite things to do is make books. So we are going to talk about how to make some teeny tiny books that you could dangle from a gift in the bow that you put on the top. If you have a ribbon, you could dangle them from the tag that you're giving. You could dangle them from the gift bag. If you're like me and usually end up so busy that you just grab gift bags instead of doing the paper. Although I really want to do a Monday Jumpstart where we make a whole bunch of that tissue paper ready for collage, because that's just, I love it. Another fun thing is to use these as ornaments. So it's like making an ornament and then giving one to somebody as part of their gift with the tag, or with the gift, or with the gift bag. And then they can have the Christmas ornament, and it's a piece of art made by you forever and ever more. So while I was sitting here, I didn't pull out any that I'd already made because, hate to admit it, but I don't know where they are. So I whipped up a couple while I was sitting here, and then we're going to do some together. But the concept is easy. The concept is just teeny tiny books, and you can use them to write in, or you can use them to not write in. You can make them be closed. You could put a closure on them so they stay closed, but it's kind of open like that so you can see that it's a book. You can let them free open. You can use plain paper, like the bottoms of a book page, and then you can write in them. You could use them as teeny tiny art journals and do some little drawings or write things in. I think it would be fun. if you have a tradition of having family come over or friends come over, to put these on the tree and have blank paper like that and ask everybody to grab one and write something, just a Christmas sentiment in it. And then every year you're adding to them and you get different people's thoughts, just a little Christmas sentiment and their autograph in it. That would be super fun. You could also take them off the tree and give them to people as party favors. So to hang them like that or to use them to decorate gifts, I like to use the sparkly ones, the sparkly paper. I don't always use sparkly paper as a matter of course during the year. So this is a really good time for me to use glittery and sparkly paper. This is craft paper. Some of you have seen this at our DMB sales. Craft paper with the red foiling on it. And on the spine is just a piece of this, which is just, it's not stretchy, but it's just gold, what are they called? Sequins, gold sequins. So the silver one or the blue one is this paper, which I think we sold some of that at the DMB sale as well, with the silver sequins. That's this one. This is a stretchy one. And so I just cut off a little strip this way and put it on the spine there. This is like super, super simple. And you can go as elaborate as you want. So what I want to do is give you a way that if you wanted to whip some of these up really quickly, you could whip up multiple dozen fast in no time at all. But if you also want to do just a few and you want them to be much more elaborate, you could do that as well. This is one that will take you, just a few minutes, literally. So it's a piece of this paper. It's little pieces. I made the whole upside down. So now the book pages are upside down. Book pages, music pages, whatever, inside of it. And a little piece of scrap ribbon or scrap sequins or whatever you want to put on the back. And I don't even need to embellish the front because it's got all this sparkly stuff on it. So if it's plain paper, maybe I would. So I've got the rest of this blue one. I've got this black one. You can make a ton out of one 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, because when I cut that, I got all these other little ones, and I cut it, I folded it to, I'll show you how I did this, just fold it and then cut them whatever size you want. But I'm going to show you what else I will use here. This is also that craft with black foiling, which is shiny. And then there is with the magenta or purple foiling. This is just a piece of cardstock out of a paper pack, but it's really shiny and foiled and really pretty. And it's gold and cream. And that would make for really elegant little books on a Christmas tree. This is a handmade paper that is embossed, and it's embossed with leaves. So I thought that would make pretty tiny little book covers. So I just cut a bunch of those. Now this, it might be one of my favorites. This is going to last forever. This is the kind of non-destructible. This is those foam glitter sheets that we had at the DMB sale. Foam glitter sheets. They are super thin and super flexible and perfect for teeny tiny little books that would be decorations. So let me show you how we do it. Oh, also, I will use, when I do things like this, scraps of leather. Now this leather cuts just fine with my Tim Holtz mixed media scissors, so I love those. So I want it teeny tiny, so I only need little scraps. I can fold this, make it as, I can trim that up if I want it to be. I can round the corners. I can do whatever I want with that. I might even try my corner rounder if I want some embellishment there. Same thing there. This one's a little bit bigger, so maybe I go this way and get 2 out of it. So I might have to cut it in half and then square up each one, but I should be able to get, I should be able to get 2 out of that. I've got some black and some brown leather scraps that I use to do this sort of thing. And they're really, really cute. Did you know that you can emboss on leather? So we did a Monday Jumpstart last year, and I embossed a leather keychain that I made for Doug, and I just used a stamp that I had that said something I don't know. I don't remember what it said even now. But I just cut a piece of leather in a long, thin shape, not too big like that, and stamped with the embossing ink and then embossed right on it. I punched a hole in the end and put an eyelet in, and he still carries it on his keychain. I love that. So let's, we'll use one of these. Let's see. I'm going to end up making them with all of them, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to grab a paper trimmer, and then I'm going to, okay, this is really simple. You can measure if you want, but you really don't have to. All I'm going to do is fold this over to see how big I want the book. And if I'm looking at, this is the width, and then this is the height. So I can make them as teeny tiny or as big as I want. I'll go about this big today. And normally, I mean, this is just flexible, so it just folds. So I don't even need to crease it or anything. I'm going to put it right here, and I'm going to line up on the left side to make sure that they're both about the same spot. And I'm just going to cut it. That's how easy it cuts. All right. And then all I'm going to do is cut it apart into how tall I want the books. Because it doesn't crease, it's a little bit more fiddly to hold, where paper will crease and stay right where you want it. But all I do is go like this and cut many books off. And they're not all the same size. You could make them all the same size if you wanted to. You don't have to. They don't have to be. And then when I get one and I look at this one, I'm like, okay, that one, oh, it's kind of cool because it kind of looks like you're looking at it at an angle, almost. If they're not perfectly straight because it moved or I couldn't hold it straight or whatever, I can just bring that single one in here, line it up with a line on there and say, there, now it's perfectly straight. And that's exactly how I would like it. Okay. So let's start with that one, and then we'll make some with some others. So I could take this and measure it and say that this is 2 and a hair. It's 2 inches plus a tiny bit. So if I cut the paper 2 inches long, it would be just fine. And then the height is 1 1/4 plus a hair. So if I cut it 1 1/4, it would be just fine. So you see how like perfect and measured it is not. It just really isn't. You just do whatever you would like. So I don't want to take each piece of paper and have to measure it individually to make sure that it is, I've already forgotten, 1 1/4 by 2. Because that, just kind of takes a long time and seems like a little bit of fiddly problem, pain in the butt to me. So I'm going to take a bunch of, this is a pretty small one, so I can get little scraps. I've got lots of scraps here. So let's see, are these, yeah, see, they'd even be close enough, and all the pages don't have to be the same. So I can get a bunch of pages, a bunch of scraps, and I can just put them all together like this. And I'll put that one in the middle because it's not as long as the others. So if I end up cutting something off, then I know I've still got at least that page. Oh, there's some from Anne of Green Gables. And do I have a different color? There's some music. It's a music page, not much music on it, but a little bit. It'd be fun to cut from a Christmas song, even print out a Christmas song and then cut off of that. That one is a little bit big. Let's see. I really like that one. I'll make that one right in the center there. Okay. All right. So that says Anne of Avonlea, and that's from Anne of Green Gables. So I'm going to put that right in the center. So that becomes the center spot. I'm going to fold it in half right there. That's the center of my book. This is super, super simple way to make teeny tiny books to use in these things. Now you can take time to measure and cut or tear. I really like to tear, but in this situation, if I want to knock out a whole bunch of them, I need to do it pretty darn quickly. So I'm going to do it like that. And now I know where my center is. I need to make sure my center is well marked. The foam wasn't a good thing to show you this part on a piece of paper, because on a piece of paper, you get that bend mark. And so you know right where your center is. I'm not getting that bend quite so well on foam because it bounces right back. So let me see if I can make a mark on it here.
It looks pretty good on the camera, just so you know.
Cool. Thank you.
Because you've got enough shadow that you can sort of see the fold.
Okay, good. I need to know where that fold is because all I'm going to do is staple it. And if it's teeny tiny like this, I might use a tiny stapler. If it's just a little bit bigger, or if I'm using the leather, I will use a bigger stapler that will go through that. So I'm going to, because this is so small, I'm only going to put one staple right in the middle. Okay. And now my book is stapled together. All right. So now I need to get it to size. Quickest, easiest way to do that. Just cutting all the paper to size. If I want to cut it just slightly smaller than the book, I'll look at where the book edge is here. I can lift it up and cut just barely inside that. Just barely. I could even do it a little bit more. If I fold it and I decide, oh, that's not bent or that's not enough inside, I'll cut it off a little bit more. But let me continue going around and cut this side. I want to come a little bit inside. So that's a little bit more. Okay, so that when I bend it, whoop, it's still long. All right, so then I might just grab my scissors and give that a little bit of a trim. I know the ones on the inside need to be a little shorter than the ones on the outside. You might have noticed that I kind of did that at an angle, just so the ones on the inside get cut a little shorter than the ones on the outside. And I don't care if they're all exactly, I want it to be junk journal-ish. I want it to be cute little junk journal-ish. Okay, so in a nutshell, that is the book right there. And then I can look at that and say, all right, so when it's folded, that's hanging down there. So I want to cut that off. I can do that. And that one's hanging out there because it's the center one. So I'll cut that one off. And if you're going to seal it closed or put a closure on it that stays closed, then the center pages really don't matter at all. If you're going to have it open, you can have it to be whatever you'd like seen. Okay, so now everything goes inside. I'm still a little long down here on one side, not the other, which means my pages were a little bit crooked when I put them in and stapled them. And that's okay. Just like regular junk journals we make. Adds to the character, right? All right, so there it is. Now, at this point is where I will decide how I want to hang it. Because sometimes I will put a hole through here and put an eyelet through here. And then I can put all kinds of things. I can put a jump ring and then put a string on the jump ring to hang it on the tree or attach it to the package or whatever it is. I could put, where's this one? This one, I just put a hole through it. So I could put that string through it and hang it that way. And you can kind of see it. You don't really see it because of the sequins there, but I actually did that hole after I put the sequins on. But typically I'll decide how I want to do that before I put that on, so that the hole can be closer into the side and not seen. Although, depending what I put on the edge, it might be seen anyway. Okay, so that goes through real easily. So there's a hole, and it's through the whole thing, so super easy. So then I might even take my string, and I like to often use white string because then I could take it and color it any color I want just by running it through ink. Put a little finger caught on or a glove on, and you just set this on the ink pad, put your finger down and whoops, don't lose the end, and do this. You just run it through the ink and you can make it whatever color you want. So a bright shiny blue that matches this, or whether you want it black or glittery or whatever, anything you want. Okay, so if I put that through right now, but now do I want to put an eyelet on it? Maybe I want to put an eyelet on that. Kind of like the idea of an eyelet on that because that's really shiny. So let's go see if we can find an eyelet. I don't know if we're going to have that blue. Ooh, that's some colored there. Might be a blue. Probably more likely to be a silver. So let's grab a silver. Somewhere underneath here, there's a pair of tweezers. Silver bells. I saw, oh, there it is. I saw silver, and now I can't find silver. Silver, gold, go with any of these. I like silver with blue. Okay, that may or may not go all the way through. So what I may do then, it doesn't look like it's going to go all the way through, because I put a few pages, and foam is thicker. Foam is thicker than paper is. So I'm going to put that eyelet on one side only. And then I'm going to put a second one on the back side. And you can handle this in a number of different ways. If I had just a paper cover with not the foam, the thick foam, it would have gone through the whole thing on paper. So it'd be just fine. But this, whoops, I knocked it right out. This way, whichever side you're looking at, front or back, you're going to see an eyelet. And then I'm going to bring it together. You have to make sure you leave enough room between the two eyelets to bend it right there. Bend the two eyelets together. And then, let's see if I'm prepared for this right here. And then I will probably look for a jump ring. I'll go with a silver jump ring. These are great big jump rings, which works perfectly. So it can go through the entire thing. Okay, and then I'm going to think, what am I going to put on that? Am I going to attach that to a string of some kind to hang it? Do I want to put a charm on it? If so, I'm going to do that before I actually close that up. Let's see what kind of Christmas charms there are right here that maybe would be small enough to go with this. So there is a star and a moon and a star. We need something that's small enough to handle a teeny tiny. That wasn't a star, it was a snowflake. I picked up a snowflake and said a star. But something for a tiny book. So we don't want it to overwhelm the book. There's a tiny star and a tiny moon. I would like something silver if possible. There's a silver star and a toothbrush, a silver toothbrush. That looks fun.
Well, we always got toothbrushes in our stockings.
In the stockings, right? Yeah, we did too. And so it does kind of fit. I had totally forgotten about that. We always did as well. We got toothbrushes and socks and things like that, and an orange.
Yep.
Not a bunch of candy.
We got oranges. Well, we got an orange and nuts. There were no nut allergies in our house.
Yes, we got nuts. That was the other thing.
Almost always got crayons, some sort of paper, some sort of tape, some sort of glue. We always got basic craft supplies.
Yeah. That is cool.
I'll give you one guess which parent that was.
I was just going to say, it helps to have a mom who's artistic. That's amazing. Okay, there's a little wing.
She didn't like us stealing hers.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing we got was things that would keep us busy until we could open the other gifts or until everybody was up.
Right.
Because inevitably we were.
Yes. Oops, don't bend that the wrong way. These are pretty soft jump rings. That's why I'm just using my fingers, and then I overbent it. So I usually overbend it when I use my pliers, which right now are out in the living room because I've had to use them to break Lucy's treats up. She's got these chicken treats she loves that are so hard. It hurt my hands to break them up. So I've been using the pliers to bend it and break it. Okay, so there I have a little angel wing on a cute little book. And I could even do something on here with Nuvo drops or with a silver gel pen or glitter pen. And then I will take this and find the end all over again and just string it through, and it's ready to go. And then, maybe I would run this thread through an ink if I wanted it to be a particular color. But then I don't have to worry about getting all different color threads to match everything, all the glitter paper I might use. It's all white. I can make it any color I want. There are lots of good Tim Holtz colors that would match this blue. Okay, so fiddly part, trying to tie the knot in the string. There we go. And then I'll trim that in a bit. Now this is the most basic of the journal. So I can still decorate this, embellish it if I want to put something on the spine. If I want to glue this so that you don't see, or maybe I put this up here so it's hidden in the tree and you don't see the knot. But I could do all kinds of things. Decorate the spine. I can make a tiny closure. I can round the corners. I think, where's that other little blue one? I rounded the corners on this one. So do anything that you want with it there. Yeah, and then when it's hanging, you've just, it would be cute to put titles, on it that are relevant to your family. Or to the person who you are gifting it to. So cute little decoration. We all like teeny tinies, and it's just fun to hang on the tree. I would love to cover my tree with tiny books that I've made. I have a couple leather ones that I really love, and I took time to actually make them like full-on junk journals, and I made little tucks and little pockets, and then stuck little tiny things in them. And embellished on the front, and that's really fun. You could do something that is relative to the person you're gifting it to, if that's what you're doing. But the other thing that I really like to decorate with, along with these, or that would make a super cute home handmade decorated tree, would be the boho beads we've been making. Mm-hmm. You guys have made some gorgeous boho beads.
Yep.
So you take
them on my tree.
Yeah. Take the boho beads and take a bunch of tiny books. And the thing is, you can make it any color you want. So if your boho beads are all in bright colors, make your books all in bright colors, or make your books in antique colors to offset it and give it a little bit of what's the word? I can't think of it. Anyway, contrast. But yeah, if you like it in, I hate to admit it, I have a whole bunch of decorations for the tree because I love Christmas. And so each year we have to decide, is this going to be a purple and gold? Is this going to be red and gold? Is it going to be blue and silver? Is it going to be red and white? Is it going to be all, so we've got all the decorations that go with the different color combinations. So, I have this color blue. I love the royal blue, electric blue, and silver. I love the royal purple and gold. I've got those, so I could make these in different colors to go with some of those different things. There's the fuchsia and a pretty green and a red that were in this pack. So let me show you, we'll set that one aside, and I'll embellish these later, but right now, just for the sake of time, let's go with a piece of paper. Let's say you have a piece of paper, a piece of cardstock like this one that you want to make some out of. Now, this is cardstock, and it is it's craft, and it's got this foil on the other side. And so I want to make sure that it doesn't crack when I just fold it and bend it. So I will I'm going to fold it along here and make that, the front of my book. I will typically just give it a little spritz of water. Then when I bend it, it's a little more flexible and it doesn't crack. And so all I'm going to do is decide, how big do I want these mini books to be? And that looks pretty good right there. And if this side's lined up and then I push it all the way down, before I completely flatten it, I'll just make sure that this side's lined up and it's perfectly straight. So again, you can sit down and do these without a lot of tools because they're just simple and easy. So then I'll just cut that off. Now you could make a long, skinny book just like this. Move that up a bit so I can finish cutting that off. Didn't check how straight it was, but no, I'm not really worried because I can just take this and I can do it this way. And I can just kind of eyeball how big do I want those books. And I love that they're not all the same size. And let me show you I'll do it right here. Okay, so I get to the, whoops, I got that one straight. I get to the end here, and there's the branding strip, which I didn't break off first. So now this one is more of a landscape book than an up-down book. So I could either do it like this and let it hang this way and open this way, or it could be a landscape book that way. But if I like them, if I really want them all to look this shape, so that they're up and down like traditional books, all I have to do is take that one individual piece and bring it over and say, that means it needs to be taller than it is wide. So if you want to measure it and you say, that's right about an inch tall, so it needs to be less than an inch wide. So anything less than an inch is going to give me an up and down. And if that's not quite small enough, let's cut off a little more. And there's a perfect little teeny tiny book. So, yeah, I mean, you really can. I could have probably opened it up, cut it in half, and made two teeny tiny little books there. And then that's super easy to use up all these little scraps with of anything. I have this little container here that I put in just little scraps of book pages and music pages and things like that. And then when I'm sitting in front of the TV, I haven't done any of those in a long time. I just cut up a couple of them that showed. I'll sit there and ink around the edges of these. And I like to collage sometimes with each piece being inked around the edges. Here's an example of one I just cut up. But I'll just sit and ink around the edges. That's grid paper. And then when I collage, they're inked and it's a cool look. This paper is 100 years old and I don't need to do anything to that. It's just ready to collage. That's kind of cut perfectly. So is that. Oh, there's one. See, I'll just ink around the edges like that. So I'm pulling out a few of those, trying to get a couple of different types or styles of paper so they don't all look the same. There's some different music paper down there. It's a good one, especially for teeny tiny. So, and you could sit down, you could take one book page of like 3 different books and one music page, and with that have enough. You've got enough variation there, 4 different types of things. So like this teeny tiny one, that's just like really teeny tiny. So I would even do the ones that are a little bit bigger first, and then see what's left from that to do the smaller. So I'll gather up all these ones that I cut off and see how they're not all the same height. And so when you put them on the tree, they're going to be all different size books around. Also, if I'm putting them on gift tags, or if I'm putting them on the or tying them into the bow of a gift, if it's a small gift, I want a teeny tiny one. If it's a bigger gift, I want a little bit bigger one. So it's, proportionate to what it is that I'm doing. So let's take this one and we'll do the same thing. A little bit easier with paper. Now this, I'm going to not make the center of the paper. I like this raggedy edge that came on that book. So I would line it up with that side and cut off this edge. Or you can measure them and tear them. I like the torn look. But if I'm going for quantity, then it's much faster to cut them. So I know that I'm going to line them up with the left edge. So I'm just going to line them up there in my hand. It'll make it easier for me to cut them. There's an Anne of Green Gables one. Let's see. I'm going to kind of put her in the center because I do want, nope, if I do that, then maybe it'll all end up on one side. That's okay too. That'll be cool. Let's see what else we have. I love this rolling edge here. I don't want all the cool edges to be on the same side, so I'm going to put that on the other side. I think it's probably about the same length and may not get cut off. Of course, it may. If I want to guarantee it doesn't get cut off, then I need to put it on this side. And I talk to myself when I do this. I talk to myself when I craft all the time. I walk myself through things like this. This is how you make, decisions and decide something's not going to work or figure something out as you go. So, I'd love to have some of those good edges on both sides. However, if I want to make sure that that doesn't get cut off, I need to put it on the left. So you just kind of learn from doing that. And let's see. Yeah, that's probably enough. These are not to be great big books where, being completely used as junk journal. They're decorations. So I don't need too many. All right. So I'm going to line up the left because I want to keep those grungy sides. And then I'll fold it right where it was folded on the cover. And then there's my right-hand side that sticks out. Easy enough just to go like that. There we go. Now, I think before I even put those in, I will round the corners. You could also scallop the corners and make them really pretty. But the paper's a little bit shorter than this, which is perfect. So if I have rounded corners, it shouldn't stick out. If it does stick out, I'll round the corners of the paper. So let's grab our papers there, bring them back. Was that all of them? I feel like nope. Oh, that was it then right there. Wait, that's not all of them. Did I drop them all? I did. I did. You're looking at me going, there's half there and half there. What are you doing? Yeah, I did drop them all. Okay, so that goes on top and the papers are all inside, not even seen. There is, however, some on the bottom. So I just need to clean up the bottom. I don't want that to stick out. So let me line these up again and make sure they're all inside. And I'll just cut that off. There we go. Again, if I'm trying to knock out multiples of these to decorate or to embellish my gifts, I will do them as simple as possible. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to staple it. And there's a lot of ways you can cover the spine. And that's why I'm stapling them, because it's the easiest thing. And if I'm going to leave the book open, I can come in and put something on the inside too to cover the staple. If I'm not going to leave, if I'm not going to put something on the spine, I really like the paper, then I'll take a thread or a needle and I'll put it on here and I will bind it, just either a 2 or 3 hole pamphlet stitch, something super, super simple. It doesn't take a whole lot on these teeny tiny ones. All right, got a paper that keeps wanting to stick out there, so let's make sure it's in. It is. All right, so let's just get this stapled. It's a small one, so I should be able to get in there with the tiny stapler. I think I'll put 2 because it's a little bit taller than the last tiny one did, or was, so I did with 1 staple. So I'll put 2 staples on this one. And you can barely even see the staples because they're literally right on the fold. Okay, so there we go. So then I can go ahead and make myself a hole. And you might also look, if it's a larger book, maybe I use a larger eyelet, which is going to go through a little bit deeper. But I still did it for a small eyelet. And you also don't have to put an eyelet in there. You could put the jump ring in and you can hang a couple of charms or tie. Let's do that. Let's do this. because maybe you don't even have time to mess with eyelets, or maybe the eyelets aren't going through and you don't want to use 2 eyelets on every single one, because that seems like a big waste. Let's just put the jump ring through here. Okay, and then I'm going to put a charm. Let's see what would go nicely with this. I've got a moon, star. Let's do a snowflake. Let's do a snowflake charm. Trying to decide if there's a front and back. I don't know if there is, but okay. So we'll do the snowflake charm right there. All right, and then I'm going to close this up. Okay, so that's closed up with the snowflake charm. And just with the snowflake charm on it, you can no longer see the hole. So it really doesn't matter if you have a jump or an eyelet or not, because you can't see the hole. But if you want to do one more thing to cover up there, grab your multicolored sari silk that came in your April subscription box. So someone who got an April subscription box but hasn't received it yet and opened it up may not know that you get a whole skein of multicolored sari silk in that box. One of my favorite months.
Mm-hmm.
They're all my favorite, aren't they? And oh, look at that. That piece had been cut on both ends, because sometimes I just go in, there's a color I want, I cut the piece out that I want. And when I keep it together like that, the odds and ends will just stay in with it. But this is perfect. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to put it through. All right. I'm going to use tweezers because every time you try to do something in a hurry. And I'm going to do this underneath the snowflake. I'm just going to tie it into a bow. You could just leave it hanging. I'm going to try to come down here. I know ends are going to get cut off, and I don't want it all to have that purple. I want to have this magenta as well. So I'm going to make one end shorter than the other because I want to keep this magenta. And I'm going to try to make a tiny little bow. Now, sometimes I'll do this and I'll go, you know what, that bow is too big. It just doesn't work with that. So I'll just let it hang down and be a floppy sari silk. And then I may even go through again and tie a second one on. So it's purposeful to have bits of sari silk hanging down. Okay, so there's a bow, and I'll cut that off. Okay. So I want that underneath, and then the snowflake on top of the bow. And again, I'm sorry, I just went off screen there. I didn't realize that. If you don't want to use an eyelet, you don't have to, because at this point, you can't even tell that there's a hole there, that there's an eyelet, anything like that. Here's something else you can do with the sari silk. Besides, well, and what I was saying was, if I don't like the bow, because the bow's too big and it displaces the charm, you can take the charm and you can tie it onto this and let it hang down, or you can just let it hang like this, in which case I'd cut them off uneven up here somewhere, maybe a little bit longer than that, and I would tie another one so that I end up with 4 hanging. But you can also take it off, or don't put it on to begin with, of the jump ring. There we go. And instead of putting it through the jump ring, put it directly through the hole. These pointy tweezers are the best ever. I need another pair to grab them on the other side. Put that sari silk directly through the hole. Pull it out the other side. I'll bring that up there so that the sari silk is underneath it. And then tie it in a knot or a bow out here. I'm just going to tie it in a knot. I kind of like that free-flowing knot right there. So that was only one. I would tie a second one. I would cut that off. tie a second one so it stays on. It wasn't really a knot with only one, right? Okay. There you go. You could use the sari silk to make the tree hanger if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm using it for a lot of, covering that hole, lining the hole with sari silk instead of lining it with an eyelet. And so there you have it hanging down the spine. And you can leave one hanging down the spine and then take a second. I'll just grab this end here that's got some of that magenta in it, but other colors as well. And put that through. Without all the paper. Okay, that goes to that side. So that'll go to that side. Get rid of the paper. Pull this up. We'll tie a little knot on before we drop it 3 times. We'll tie a little knot on top and let this be our tree hanger or our attachment to the gift. And then the little book is down here with this. So you could tie this in a little bow if you wanted. You could leave it off completely. If you left this off completely, then you could run this through the hole in there instead of the eyelet and let the eyelet only be for holding the charm, in which case probably wouldn't need as large of an eyelet. And then you could take your gold gel pen or a gold acrylic pen, Posco pen, and write on here a little title or something with the person's name, to so-and-so. You make it, outline it in a square, make it look like a little book plate and put their name on it. And if you wanted to put plain paper, or even with this, if you had a gel pen or an acrylic pen, you could write on this and it could be read easily, especially if it was in gold or white or some other bright color that would show right over the top of the black. But you could write to them, to and from and Merry Christmas and whatever sentiment you wanted to include to them, write in the book there and let that be your card. If you're like me and the thought of making cards and tags at the very last minute is a little overwhelming because suddenly you can't think of anything to do. And if I know I want to tie one of these on, then I can let that be the card. So super easy. Any questions? I mean, it's so easy. I know there's not much question.
It's so easy. It's so easy. Yeah, yeah.
It's so easy. They're all falling asleep. I love it.
It's that kind of Friday.
Yeah, it's nice that we can help you relax and fall asleep. And I will never begrudge anybody sleep whenever you can get it. Sleep is a valuable commodity for me, and whenever I can get it, I will take it. So that must mean it's 7 o'clock. So yeah, so you can embellish this, decorate it however you want. We've got a couple different ones here. I think this one would be super cute with some of this sari silk right here. So I think I will probably do that. And oh, that just came apart anyway. The string, apparently I didn't tie the string well enough. So if I take some of this that has this royal blue, let's see if there's a strip that has a longer amount of royal blue. That is really pretty. And put that in there and you could put contrasting color of sari silk because you've got all the colors you want on this skein, and use those as your tree hangers. Just cannot do it with my fingers. I need those tweezers. So there's a couple of different ones. You can glue something on the spine. You can not glue something on the spine. Like that one. We've got this one with nothing on the spine. We've got this one with gold on the spine. Just some outside decoration that makes them sparkly and pretty. Maybe personalizes them. But and if you want to take time, you can deck the whole thing out like a regular junk journal with all kinds of little stuff in it. And if we make them all year long, we could have enough to do the whole tree by next Christmas, huh? Using scraps. Using scraps. We have been this year. One of our primary focuses was on using scraps. And this is actually a really good way at the end of the year to use up some of your scraps. So let's bust some scraps so we have room for new stuff and new ideas in January. So I'm going to bring everybody back here. So there's Jen's complete, not quite completed, but she's still got a lot done on that tissue paper. And you
I got another one to show you.
Okay.
So I thought of something while everybody was busy. I'll show you this one in a second. This is what you can do with one stamp.
Oh, love it.
Yes.
Love it.
That's great.
And that looks like it came printed that way.
It doesn't have to be perfect. You can see where I've overlapped some.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter. It looks like it came printed that way.
And this is really fun. This would be fun to decoupage onto something like a round ornament.
Yes.
There were others where I was able to get the line really perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of figured out a little bit more about what I wanted to do. And
if you set it over your grid on your desk, it's a little easier to line them up perfectly. But sometimes you have to do them a few times to see where you want it to line up with the line before it.
If it was a clear stamp, yes. This is not a clear stamp, and it's not cut out on the edge. So when I'm looking at it on the side, it doesn't tell me where it's at. So I was like, meh, okay. But then, so that's that. And then after I finished that was really fast, to be honest.
Yeah.
This wasn't as fast, and obviously I had, I wasn't doing this as a planned venture. So what I did, if I used the same stamp near each other, I just changed the color.
I love it.
And
that's a great trick. Good tip.
So, and then I didn't mind if there were multiple stamps in the same color.
Nope.
Near each other, because
they're not going to end
up as a block of color and then break it up elsewhere.
And you're going to have other things in between them anyway, and they're not going to be together once you wrap it around something.
Yep.
Or tear it apart to decoupage.
I have these 2 from stamps in the
awesome.
The kit, so I thought, oh, that's kind of.
I was just thinking that if you wrap the gift and the to and from happened to be right at the top, that you could just write on that. I love
it. Good. so
they really like that. It's really pretty. So let's go to DM real quickly because we are out of time, so we can see her doodles that she's continued to do. Oh, that's pretty.
So what I did here is I used 2 different stamps, 3 different colors, blue, green, red, put them in different directionals. And then I took my spray, Distress Oxide on Charted Manor, sprayed it. And then the biggest dots, I just flicked silver off of them. And then I went to the next biggest and made them smaller and smaller and smaller so that it sort of adds that.
Yeah.
The other thing I did is I just put random stamps that I had all over the page. And then I said, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put silver in the dotted ones. So I went back and doodled in the dotted ones. These I put red lines. The blue ones I made into snowflakes. And I didn't care where they were. I just started going over and over. You can see that I did ornaments there on a ribbon.
Yep.
And this is like a chain of cranberries.
Cool.
And there's a green ornament there. So what I just basically did is I just stuck them down but kept them cohesive. Granted, if I were to do this again, I would not do it quite as messy, but I was also trying to figure out how you could cover as fast as you could. It actually looked good without any doodles on it too. You know what I mean? Like it was just, and you could go with basic doodles by just doing little C marks, within the thing, or you can tie them together with stringers or with dots to make it look like cranberries.
And if you like to Zentangle, you could sit down with white paper or craft paper when you're watching TV and Zentangle all year long, knowing that you use that paper for wrapping.
Yep. So it's just like sort of what Jen was doing, but adding to what
different variation,
adding the basic shapes and then adding to it to make it more personalized is probably the easiest way to go about what I was trying to do, is to
And that's what we were trying to present tonight, was a couple different variations on the same process, so that, you know, if one of them more than the other appeals to you, or you think, okay, I could do that quickly, I will
This
do
is
that.
my ugly snowflake. I just
Aw.
started playing with, yeah, it's nothing.
That's
I was
okay.
just playing with it
Like
the
a
last
game of
time. But
Where's
I think this
Waldo?
is my
Where's the
favorite right
snowflake?
here.
I like that. I like
Just
that.
this, doing the spray
That,
over it and then
yeah.
taking the biggest ones, because you know how the big ones suddenly usually just look like a big clump.
Yep.
If you take that silver, put it over it, it looks like it's meant to be as big as
That
it
would
is.
make
So,
really pretty tags too, cut up.
yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for being with us. We hope you got some kind of inspiration that might help you with your last minute Christmas stuff. If you're already done or don't have to do, well, then that's awesome. And I'm envious.
Congratulations.
I'm envious. That's very cool. And I'm just starting to think of it. I know it's coming very quickly, and I haven't even had time to think about it until now. So I'm going to use some of these techniques and to get my last minute stuff done. So we are not going to do Monday Jumpstart on Monday. We are, however, going to do a live box opening on Monday. So quick vote. Would you rather have that during the day at noon at the same time as Monday Jumpstart, or would you rather have that Monday evening at 5 o'clock like we did tonight?
May I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
I think you should do it Monday evening, because then more people might have their boxes.
That's true, because mail sometimes doesn't come until then. All right.
Later in the afternoon.
Yep. All right. So we'll do live box opening Monday evening. We will not have Monday Jumpstart Monday day. Okay. So watch for that event. The boxes have shipped, and they are not boxes. They are large golden envelopes.
We get to sing "We Got a Golden Ticket" again.
Yes, you got a golden ticket again.
Envelope.
The large golden padded envelopes, they have shipped. They shipped today. So let's see. Today's Thursday, right? So, most everybody will have it by Friday.
No, today's Friday.
I mean, today's Friday.
Today's Friday, so we're hoping that everybody will have it by Monday.
Not Friday. Yeah. Okay, that's why I was thinking that. Today's Friday, Saturday, Monday. Most everybody should have it by Monday. There will be a few that may trickle in on Tuesday. So we will plan on Monday evening, 5 p.m. Mountain Time for the live box opening. Yeah, Margie won't unless somebody brings it over. I know, Margie. Hopefully it might just hit. No, it won't hit on Saturday and she bring it over. It'll be Monday.
Now, is anybody else getting mail on Sunday? Because we've been getting U.S. mail on Sunday here.
Packages. I've noticed they don't deliver mail so much on Sunday, but they often send out their package people. Yeah. And the more closer we get to Christmas, the more they will do that. So you might very well get a package on Sunday. Keep an eye out for that. It is too large to go into your mailbox. It's the big one, not the small one, not the medium-sized one that we've had as well. So, all right, everybody, thanks for hanging out with us. Time for me to go cook some burgers for my family because I'm hungry. Have a great weekend. Thanks, Jen. Thanks, DM, for helping out. Appreciate your time and all your ideas. I got some great ideas. So, love y'all. We'll see you in the group. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.